judges. Am I audible, sir?
Yeah, please. Share your screen.
Could I share my screen, please? Yes, thank you.
The screen is visible. Please start.
Your free paper number, because nothing is written over here. Free paper.
So just a sec. So could I present my paper in the meantime? Get my free paper number out. Is that okay?
You should write it here, which loses your marks if you don't know your free paper number also. I have to mark according to free paper number.
So this is free paper 1158.
1158. Okay.
58.
Thank you.
Good morning, all. I'm Dr. Nikhil-Semifinal, and today I'm going to be talking on deciphering the conundrum of aerosolization during non-contact tonometry. Now, as we all know, since the last 2 years, our world has been taken aback by the rising number of COVID-19 cases worldwide. We also very well know that COVID is spread through aerosols and through droplets. So it is very well documented about the same. And we also know that non-contact tonometry is a daily OPD procedure used worldwide for IOP screening in every ophthalmology clinic. A paper published back in 1991 by Britt et al. Published that there is demonstration of microaerosols during the NCT procedure. Based on this solo paper, the many different ophthalmic bodies issued guidelines to avoid NCT use during the COVID pandemic, because that would spread, because the aerosols generated during NCT would basically mean the spread of the virus to various people. This would really take the world aback, because NCT being a procedure used by one and all, and if it could not be used, it would set back everyone in their ophthalmology clinics. So our research question was, are aerosols really produced during non-contact tonometry? So we collaborated with the fluid velocimetry team from the Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, which has just recently been adjudged as the #1 research center all over the world. With them, we set up a frontal lighting and a shadowgraphy setup. Now, what exactly is this? Is that we used an ultra high resolution, high speed camera, which can capture up to 20,000 frames per second. We used a very high definition light, a Veritas Constellation strobe light. And this is the, if you see, this is a Shin Nippon NCT 200, which we used for our procedure. And this is a setup with the subject here. We use a procedure known as shadowgraphy, in which, along with a high resolution camera, can image particles as to size of 10 to 30 microns. Our second setup was a fluorescein setup, in which a Nikon DSLR camera was used with a blue LED excitation light of a source of 450 nanometers, a fluorescein stained eye, and also a smartphone in the night mode. NCT was performed at 3 different conditions, that is in normal eye conditions, after installation of 1 drop of the lubricant, and after installation of 2 drops of lubricants in 10 patients each. So what were the results of our study? We noted that in normal eye conditions, that means when no drops were instilled in the eye, there was absolutely no aerosol generation as demonstrated here in the shadowgraphy technique. The same was confirmed by DSLR imaging and smartphone nightscape imaging and high-speed imaging too. We performed the same after installation of a single drop of lubricant. In this, we noted, if you see carefully, that a few or minimal amount of aerosol generation is present. The same can also be demonstrated after on the nightscape mode on the DSLR, where we see a small amount of aerosolization, which can also be seen on the nose bridge of the subject. After instilling 2 drops of a lubricant, the results were noteworthy. We saw copious amount of aerosolization, which even reached back up to the pneumatic port of the NCT. This was also further fabricated in the smart mode nightscape, where you see profuse amount of aerosolization, and the droplets were also seen on the NCT machine post the procedure. We also used mathematical modeling post these experiments to compute till what distance can these aerosols, which are being produced during the procedure, travel in a room. we took the normal airflow in an AC room and in a room where there is a low fan, and we calculated up to what distance can these aerosols travel. So what is the conclusion of our study? The conclusion of our study says that no aerosols whatsoever are produced in normal eye conditions, and hence NCT can be very safely performed in the OPD. This squashed the umpteen number of doubts which were there in the mind of one and all, and people have safely started using NCT even during the COVID pandemic. But there is mild amount of splatter of aerosols observed on instillation of 1 drops. So one should note that NCT should not be performed in a case of watery eyes, like in cases of conjunctivitis and all, and also immediately on post-op day 1. Profuse splatter of aerosols were noted on 2 drop installation, and hence NCT should never be performed after a drop has been instilled. Contamination of the NCT may occur in cases of profuse aerosolization, and so the NCT should be regularly disinfected between cases. What new does our study add is that it was the first to use shadowgraphy and high-speed photography to demonstrate aerosols. It was the first study to demonstrate that no aerosols whatsoever are generated during NCT, and it affirms that NCT should only be avoided in condition with watery eyes. Thank you for your kind attention, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Nikhil. I just want to ask you, what was the rationale of trying 2 drops? Because this is normally not absolutely a physiological condition, and why you did not try an anesthetized eye? That also should have been a part of the experiment.
Correct. So, sir, the major reason why we took this experiment up was that the paper in 1991 by Britt et al. Showed that there was a lot of aerosolization occurring. And based on this, the body stopped using NCT. So we wanted to find out that was aerosol actually being performed. And the reason we found that their paper showed these findings was that because they were staining the eye. And while staining the eye, a drop of anisole or paracaine was always being used. And therefore, always a drop is being used in the eye, due to which only when a drop is used is there copious amount of aerosolization. We went one step forward and used 2 drops, because in cases of in POD1, when people have a lot of watery eyes, or in cases of conjunctivitis, when people have a lot of watering, we wanted to demonstrate that these are the patients in which we should actually avoid doing an NCT.
I think these cases are always avoided. Chalo, anyway, to rest of the judges may please ask questions. Dr. Parihar, Dr. Shakeen?
No question, please.
Yeah.
Okay, thank